Socratic irony is a rhetorical device in which the speaker pretends to be less knowledgeable than they actually are in order to elicit a response from the other person. This can be used to expose the other person's ignorance or to lead them to a conclusion that the speaker wants them to reach. The term Socratic irony was coined in the 1800s to describe how Socrates taught through asking questions. Socrates believed that the only way to achieve true knowledge was through dialogue. He would often ask his students questions, pretending to be ignorant, in order to get them to think critically about their own beliefs. He believed that the only way to achieve true knowledge was through self-knowledge and that this could only be achieved through critical inquiry. Of course, our primary source on Socrates' methods of philosophical inquiry is through his student, Plato. It's from his writings, the Platonic Dialogues, where we learn this concept. Here are some examples. In Plato's Meno, Socrates asks Meno, a young aristocrat, to define virtue. Meno initially struggles to come up with a definition, and Socrates uses a series of questions to help him explore the concept. Eventually, Meno is able to arrive at a more sophisticated understanding of virtue. In the Theaetetus, Socrates asks Theaetetus, a young mathematician, to define knowledge. Theaetetus initially defines knowledge as perception, but Socrates uses a series of questions to show that this definition is flawed. Eventually, Theaetetus is forced to admit that he does not know what knowledge is. In the Gorgias, Socrates asks Gorgias, a famous sophist, to defend the art of rhetoric. Gorgias argues that rhetoric is the art of persuasion, and that it can be used for good or evil. Socrates uses a series of questions to show that Gorgias's definition of rhetoric is flawed, and that rhetoric can only be used for evil. In Plato's dialogue, The Republic, Socrates asks Thrasymachus, also a sophist and one of Socrates and Plato's favorite targets of ridicule, to define justice. Thrasymachus defines justice as the advantage of the stronger. Socrates then proceeds to ask a series of questions that lead Thrasymachus to contradict himself and admit that his definition of justice is flawed. In addition to using Socratic irony to expose the flaws in the thinking of his critics, Socrates also used it as a form of intellectual humility. By pretending to be ignorant, Socrates was able to put his students at ease and encourage them to share their own thoughts and ideas. He also used it to challenge his students' assumptions and to help them to see the flaws in their own reasoning. Socratic irony has been used often as a writing device in books, TV shows and movies, especially in legal and detective dramas. Here are some examples. Sherlock Holmes often used this technique to gain an edge on his adversaries, including the infamous Professor Moriarty. Arthur Conan Doyle wrote Sherlock Holmes as a master of Socratic irony and had the character use it to great effect in solving many of his cases. In the detective TV drama, Columbo, Peter Falk's titular character seems untidy, naive and incompetent. But, he uses this ruse to be underestimated by the suspects in murder cases by giving them a false sense of confidence. Columbo routinely encourages the suspect to explain the situation, follows their logic aloud for himself, then arrives at a contradiction. Then, he finishes the suspect off with his famous line, "Just one more thing." In the movie Legally Blonde, Elle Woods uses Socratic irony to undermine Chutney, the murder victim's daughter, during her cross-examination. Elle pretends to be ignorant about the perm Chutney supposedly got at the salon, and by asking a series of leading questions, she exposes Chutney's lies and forces her to admit the truth, that she, spoiler alert, committed the murder. In real life, police and lawyers often use Socratic irony to cause criminals to admit guilt or to discredit witnesses on the stand. They will ask leading questions, such as, "So, you were the only one who had access to the victim's car?" They, like Columbo, will feign ignorance and ask questions like, "I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Can you explain it to me again?" in an effort to expose inconsistencies in a story. They may also use self-deprecating humor to set a witness or suspect at ease. Should you ever find yourself being questioned by the police or in court, be on your guard because Socratic irony is sure to emerge. Socratic irony is a subtle, yet powerful, rhetorical device. It can be used for a variety of purposes and its effectiveness depends on the skill of the speaker. If used too aggressively, it can come across as condescending or manipulative. However, when used correctly, Socratic irony can be a powerful tool for promoting critical thinking, gathering information and facilitating learning. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like if you enjoyed this video and feel free to comment to let us know your thoughts on it. Also, check out our other study review videos on other philosophers and philosophies.